developing urban infill mixed-use properties. We've been doing that around the western U.S. and the Bay Area for the past 15 years. Very familiar with Emeryville and East Bay, having grown up in East Bay and attended the college up the road, so very familiar with this community. We're very pleased and happy to be working with the city of Emeryville and the community on public market. This is a project that's been in the works for well more than 10 years, and we're happy to be able to continue to move this project forward. We really think there's an opportunity here to create a gathering place for the community, a living room, if you will, where folks can come, find great places to eat, shop, linger, hang out. And we spend a lot of time thinking about what it takes to make a real place, so it's authentic and real and not faux. And there's a number of things that go into it. One of them is you have to have critical mass of retail and restaurant space. You have to have the right mix of office and retail and multifamily and restaurant space. Right now we have some retail and restaurant space over there, but it's not a real critical mass. We want to add to that, so there's a real synergy, if you will, of the uses. And so what we are planning to do, and what I'm going to show you tonight, is we're going to create a real two-sided retail street, a main street, if you will, with unique shopping opportunities, merchandise you can't find everywhere in your local mall, great food, and again, unique food offerings, not your basic mall food, and a place that has a great ambiance that you want to come and spend time in and be with your friends. So with that, I'd like to turn the discussion over to our architect from Art Howardson, Aaron.
Great, thanks.
Do you want us to hold questions until you
Yeah,
go
so the
all
end
the
if we
way
could,
through?
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, if it makes sense, we put together about 15 minutes of kind of an overview of what we're trying to do. And I'm sure you all have a lot of good input for us, so it'd be great to hear. But if you don't mind, let me kind of give you an introduction and we'll go from there. My name's Aaron Ashley. I'm an architect and planner with Art Howardson. We're based here in San Francisco. My wife and I are based just up the street in Rockridge. We're in Emeryville all the time, but granted, I don't use it probably as much as you do, although I feel like I'm here every week and weekend. We've been working with the city and with Mark and their team for the better part of the year, actually. And the goal is to take what is a really interesting place today and what was a really interesting vision almost 7 years ago now, when the city and the former owner of the property created a PDP for it, and realized that. And some things have happened since then. Obviously the market went south and has really come back, and the market conditions of what they are have created a great opportunity to really introduce something exciting to Emeryville. And I get the benefit of working all over the world and all over the country, and we do a lot of projects of all scales, and this is really one of those cool places that's not only close to home, but is a really interesting site, a really interesting city. And so it's exciting for us to be working on this. As you know, Public Market today is a great old building, and it's had some renovations over time that they don't take away, but they're not as charming as the original, but there's a lot of really great architecture there originally. And what we're trying to do is take that kind of great history of the Public Market and add to it. And new retail will feel interesting and dynamic, and this is not about a store you've seen 1,000 times. This is about a store that there may be one or two of in the country, and it's really about a local, small-scale presence. The idea of the project has always been, for the last 7 years, to remap Shellmount in front of the market, in front of the office tower, and really make it a two-sided street. You need a little hand? Okay. Yeah.
If you can stand aside so we can
You've
see.
got it.
Thank you so much.
I've got a cord that's just not long enough.
Oh, thank you.
So as effectively the drive aisle today that you take to go to Pete's the idea is to make that a two-sided street with shopping and retail on both sides and restaurants. And what is a a very fast-moving street today on Shell Mound, and what is a big car-dominated area. Our whole goal is to make this walkable, pedestrian, bicycle-friendly, and the whole plan is designed around this sort of transit-friendly, bike-friendly, pedestrian-friendly, because that's how people spend money at retail, frankly, is to get them out of their cars and walking. And so what I want to take you through is a little bit of what we've been doing and where we're going with this. Mark and his team purchased the property in 2012, so just over a year ago. We were in front of the Planning Commission on December 12th for a study session, and it's on YouTube. It's also on the internet, on the city's website. And it was a series of initial ideas from us, and we got some great feedback from the Planning Commission, which since then we've been working with staff and other folks in the city and consultants to really refine what we're trying to do. And we're looking to be back in front of the Planning Commission soon to propose where we'd really like to go with this. The property, as you know, is, well, this is from 2008. So PPP, the movie theater, the marketplace, and the Hyatt. And there's about 100,000 feet of shopping, well, market there today, and there's about 120,000 foot office. So this is a mixed-use place, and it's always been surface parked. And a big reason for that was that the movie theater had a parking count requirement of well over 800 spaces. So you really couldn't do anything, but the movie theaters decided to move on, and I know a lot of people like to use it, but that certainly creates an opportunity to do something more productive, we think, with the land, and to transform it from a lot of surface parking into something that's higher intensity and more exciting for everyone. And so our proposal, and what we're calling this Phase 1B of the entire project, is to transform the movie theater into a surface parking lot. That means we can keep the office and the retail open while we create a parking garage that would be sufficient to park the entire site, so all the shopping, all the office, all the future shopping and restaurants, to create a grocery store, a well-known, reputable, sustainable, healthy, can't tell you the name today, but great grocery store that I think would be a great part of the neighborhood. And that would be the first step towards really revitalizing the property. There's three big pieces. The first piece is realigning Shell Mound, which is no easy task. The second piece is the parking garage, which makes it all possible. And the third piece is the grocery store. So what I thought I'd do is just take you through quickly those three pieces. This is an aerial rendering we created to give you an idea of what the new Shell Mound might look like. So this is the existing office building. This is actually Pete's Coffee, the pizza restaurant. And you're looking down on what would be the new Shell Mound. So this is a street that has generous sidewalks, generous bike lanes, travel lane size for transit. Crosswalks are raised so that it's safer to cross. A new parking garage with retail on the ground floor, generous sidewalks, and a little plaza here across from the office building. What was envisioned from the beginning of the PDP was this relocation of Shell Mound and effectively taking a street that more or less runs along that alignment and bringing it in here. And creating a street that's not about blowing through at 30 miles an hour, it's about balancing that space between sidewalks and bike lanes and all those things that actually make for a great urban environment. And so when we think of those icons of sort of great urban streets, it's the bikes, it's the crosswalks, it's the great materials, it's the bus stops. And a view of what it might look like coming north on Shell Mound. So this is in front of Urban Outfitters, new parking garage with retail on the ground floor, a new bus stop with a full bus shelter, a streetscape that's kind of very vitalized. So here you've got the office building, the existing market, and the proposed garage, and it's really a street, but it's a series of public spaces. So you've got a great cafe space, you've got a great new plaza space, another small plaza space, expanding the hardscape plaza that's there at the market today. So it's about a street that's populated with great places for people to spend time. This is a view if you were sort of over the train tracks, looking back to the office building. the end of the new parking garage and the train tracks, a little bus stop, and this plaza that I mentioned at the end, kind of near fitness, the existing gym that's out there. The street itself is, again, it's all of those pieces of urbanity. It's a raised crosswalk for safe crossing, and they happen about every 200 feet, which is about a city block in San Francisco. So you can think of how long Shell Mound is now and be able to cross it very regularly with safety. Bicycle lanes, drop-off areas, it's all those little pieces that make it work. And what we know, because Mark and his team are retail experts, is how do we get retail that's really going to survive here, and it's the right length, and it's the right mix, and all the buildings, all the spaces are the right height and the right depth, and those are really what we're working through. It's about understanding what grows in Emeryville, and this is a very challenging site underground. There was a lot of things done here. We spent a lot of time working with arborists to really understand how do you properly prep a site to get real trees. The shopping streets we all like have real trees, and that's really important to us as a team. These are all photos from Emeryville, actually, as we look around at what's growing here, and as we think about how to translate that to this site in a meaningful way. So our firm is architects, landscape architects, planners, and we're using all of those tools. We also work with engineers. This has to be sustainable and low impact development, natural stormwater treatment. So all the new buildings and roads are treated through natural stormwater. It's a significant challenge to do that on a very urban site, but it's what we've been challenged with and what we're doing. The kinds of furnishings, the things that make up public life, the benches, the seating areas, we'd like to do a parklet, the pots, the flowers, all of those bits. The second piece, and kind of what knits the new street alignment together, is a parking garage, effectively. But it's how do you create a parking reservoir so that the retail works, so the office continues to work, so that you can pack the restaurants with people. And that's about making this sort of parking reservoir. And there are a lot of parking garages in and around the area that are challenging to use. And so we really focused on how do we make this the most easy to use, efficient parking system that we can do. And so I'll show you that a little bit. And then more importantly, how do we make it a great ground floor? The bottom 20 feet is what you and I experience when we walk around. And how do we create that great shopping experience in the bottom 20 feet of this building? And so the plan is to create a building which operates similar to others you might see, where you can enter from either end and go up a ramp or down a ramp to parking levels above. Cafes or restaurants would anchor the corners and have great outdoor space, and a series of shops. And so just to put this into scale, these aren't big mall shops. These are 1,500 square foot sort of shops. So they're small, and the intention is to have a lot of variety and a lot of mix of uses. And to populate these places with places to hang out. It's not just about going to shop. It's really, this is your living room, and it is really a civic space. We are studying a range of different ways to skin the garage, if you will. So it's very much an efficient parking structure. We're looking at opportunities to integrate public art into the skin, to use metal mesh, to use natural concrete and a lot of kind of great materials so that it doesn't detract. This really is an asset for the community. The back of the garage, we're making a significant investment in ensuring that the views from the transit platform and all the office space and future space across the train tracks doesn't look into an open garage. It looks into a kind of a great facade that we're thinking of like as important as the front facade. And the end facades are important because as you come up and down Shell Mound, you see these, and they really need to be attractive. This is not about a negative thing. And again, it's a series of materials that it's not what you've seen every day in Emeryville, but it's certainly reminiscent of a kind of industrial heritage, but at the same time it's sort of fresh and interesting, and it's not about doing something that's been done before a bunch of times. And what it really comes down to is we're going to make the garage really efficient. but how do you make this place really great for everyone that lives around it and is going to walk to it? And there's, I think if you do the math, there's almost a quarter of Emeryville lives within a 10-minute walk of this site, and so it really is a great civic space. Oop. And all those things, the bike lanes, and this is the way. So just perspective, this would be the south end, and I'd be standing basically at Pete's Coffee in this view and looking across the street. The third and final piece of this phase would be a grocery store and a cafe. And this is a view if you stood in the alley, with the fitness center on your left, and you looked down the end and across this new plaza to a cafe and the grocery store, and the grocery store has parking on the roof of it. And so the great plaza that I mentioned at the bend in Shell Mound, so that bend in Shell Mound really slows traffic down, saves speeds. This great grocery store, visible, easy to access, either on foot or by car. And the idea is that it's this real anchor for everyday use, and it really is the kind of great asset. Again, the roof of it, there's some convenience parking on the lower level, and the roof of it has a very easy to use parking layout. Green roof, skylights, green roof on the cafe. So trying to mix in those kind of great sustainable features where we can take advantage of them without really sacrificing some of the efficiency. The plaza is really this kind of great space that will have terrific morning light and terrific afternoon light. The cafe, the grocery store will spill out. The trees will have kind of planter seats that go around it, so it's easy to pull up a chair. I'm from New York, so the Bryant Park chairs are so easy to use. This is the kind of environment we're envisioning. And the pieces of it are, we think there's a chance to introduce a birch, really significant birch tree, kind of great planters with wood size, interesting building materials, weathered brick, so kind of a reference of what's been there, and it's not about just kind of rehearsing things that have been done before in Emeryville. And part of this is the fact that Mark and his team are breathing a little new life into the tower itself, the office tower, and improving some of the retail and ground floor and the opportunity for cafes. Some of the materials we're looking at using, we think that there's, as you drive down Shell Mound, the opportunity for a signature element that could be a vegetated wall with a great glass staircase, and that's how you go from the roof. And then, these sort of large, kind of gracious bays for the front door of the grocery store and the cafe. Any service functions are screened underneath the parking, so they're not open, there's no noise issues. They're closed behind a gate, so the idea is that we know that this grocery store doesn't have any backs because people live on every side of it. And so, even the quote-unquote back, we've made sure that we locate the offices there and their windows so that there's, not only is it planted, but you've got the great people looking out from their break room on the street. And so we think it activates everything. And the last couple of facades. So that's our summary. I'm sure you have lots of questions and comments, but I don't know the best way to do this.
Let me just
Raise your hand, yeah.
The movie theater, when it comes down, it'd be a nice gesture to the community to save one of the theaters, or 10 there, as a community theater, a benefit to the city, for use for music, high school plays, whatever. So if that can be done, I think that would be a real great asset.
We're always looking for opportunities to be part of the community, and right now we've been hosting monthly art and music opportunities at the food hall there, and I think that's a good idea. We certainly look into that. We want to be a part of the community, so art, music, all happening. Reason for you all to come.
Put up the slide that shows the whole scheme. We've got a lot of questions.
Sorry. It's chatting through.
Yes, are we gonna have solar panels?
We're studying that. We're studying that because the property, as you know, was the first community center to receive the Platinum LEED certification. So we want to keep that certification, and so we're looking into opportunities to add solar power.
I really think going green is really the way to go. Solar panels, windmills, if you can get those, but I don't even know if they make those.
Well, I'm not sure they have windmills of that small enough scale, but we're certainly looking into solar power to power the lights in the garage and some of the other retail functions.
Yeah, the great thing about that is that we'll decrease our reliance on PG&E. I don't want to support them any more than need be.
I agree with you 1,000%.
And I don't want us to go in, I don't want this whole, public market and everything to be affected by power outages, which are a pain in the wazoo.
I have two questions. One, what is gonna happen with what's the, I call it the existing marketplace with the little shops
There'll be in the
inside?
food hall inside there, that was portion of it. We're going to introduce some new finishes inside. Most of the finishes are probably date back 15, 20 years or more. So we're going to update more modern finishes, make it a little more comfortable to again, be there to eat. We're going to keep the favorites that you all love in terms of the food vendors. We're also going to expand the offerings, so we have an opportunity to add some more vendors in there and bring in some more choices for it. And that's what the plan is.
Actually, I think I have three questions. Just make them quick. The second is, are you gonna talk about timeline?
Sure. The timeline is that as Aaron mentioned, we're going to be back in front of the Planning Commission this spring and hope to get final approval this spring. If we get final approval this spring, then we would hope to start construction on the road alignment this summer.
So,
Yeah.
and how long might it take?
The road alignment is going to take us 3 months. Yeah, 3 to 4 months.
Take how long?
3 to 4 months. 3 to 4 months for the road alignment.
Is there a plan to expand Christie Avenue? Oh, I'm sorry.
More, okay.
Didn't you?
Oh, that's okay, that's okay. I don't have a lot of questions. I can come back.
Right now, there's not a plan to expand Christie Avenue. It's not part of the existing project.
Now, I have two items that I'm concerned about, and you haven't mentioned anything since I'm across the street at Pacific Park Plaza. The first item is traffic. There's really nowhere for it to go. There's just nowhere to go. There's buildings, there already exist, and the amount of traffic that this will be bringing in. And I'll tell you my second issue, and then you can talk about both of them. Many of us, over all the years we've been at Pacific Park Plaza, like the simplicity of the park that's right across the street on Christie Avenue. It's not fancy, but we like it. We can go there with our dogs or just go there and sit and read. What's going to happen to that lovely park?
Well, in this phase of the work, nothing. In terms of the PDP, which was approved back in 2008, there would be an expansion of that park, subject to public input. So the public would provide input to what they'd like to see, and the park would be expanded roughly.
We discussed the traffic.
Okay, the traffic, one of the reasons, traffic is an issue all around the Bay Area. One of the reasons that we've been focusing on various modes of transportation. That's why bike is important, pedestrian, merry-go-round. So we want to make it easy so folks don't have to get in their cars, so they can get out of their cars and move around through the process.
But maybe specific to your question, when the traffic was studied in 2008, it had a predicted impact, and all of the kind of new data that we've used and the newer, smaller footprint of our proposal versus what was proposed in 2008 actually generates less traffic, especially less traffic at the peak times. So, I mean, as Emeryville grows, certainly there's traffic all around, but the impact of this project is no more than it was anticipated to be when everything was kind of sized for it.
Right, he says it's less.
Well, along those same lines, right now, Shell Mound, there's a backup during commute hours, or I guess nighttime commute hours. And it's not people going to the public market, it's people just going through Shell Mound, using it as a shortcut getting onto the freeway. Where are they going to go now? Are you just anticipating any further backups?
Again, we're not the regional traffic experts, but
They might be contributing to the problem, though, by making these changes.
we believe these changes are mitigating those anticipated issues. You know, they are avoiding I-80, and so some people will go to I-80. Some of the streets in town are not utilized as much as their capacity also, so we do expect that people may go other places. But it's certainly contemplated in your general plan.
I can't think of anything that activates this area better than the movie theaters that are there now. Your lessee seems to want to stay there.
That's interesting because it was under their control. They had an option to renew. They had a couple of options to renew, and they told us they weren't interested in renewing because they're getting killed by AMC.
Have you put it out to bid to anybody else to see if they would like to rent the movie theater space? The movie theaters bring a lot of people to the area. The movie theaters would contribute greatly to the retail. The movie theaters contribute greatly to the urbanity of the area. And the movie theaters are very family friendly. And the movie theaters, frankly, are cheaper than the one at the AMC. So I don't see why you're knocking it down.
Well, we are talking other potential users, other potential movie theaters. Like I said, United Artists came to us and said, we're not interested in renewing. United Artists came to us, they had an option to renew, so it was completely within their control. They could have said, yes, we want to renew. It was their option, their right to renew. They decided they didn't want to. We are talking to other potential theaters as a possible replacement for them.
I had seen the video, and as I remember, the tearing down the theater to make a space for the construction was one of the first things you were going to do. It sounds like that's changed since then?
We may or may not do that right at first. We're still studying the process in terms of how it moves forward.
So you would need to do that maybe not until after Shell Mound gets
Yeah, the parking can be handled either where United Artists is or where Parcel C is where the market is. It can be handled within one of those two places. So we could realign the road, build a parking structure, leave the theater, and possibly park where the grocery is, or we could demolish the cinema and put a parking there. So we're still studying that. And part of that has to do with studying whether or not we have, like I said, we talked to a few movie theaters as well, so we're studying those possibilities.
So if the theater stays, there would not be a grocery store then?
If we can't have, we don't have enough parking to do both, so they're probably not, it's sort of one or the other.
Well, but with the movie theater, I mean, they're mainly busy late Friday night and late Saturday night, date night, which is the time when the existing office space is pretty much empty. So I don't see, I mean, I know your lease calls for 850 spaces for that. But, I mean, in the evenings on Friday and Saturday nights, who else is going to be there really, especially after 7:30?
Well, we're hoping that the restaurants and the retail will be shoppers that are visiting those venues.
Well, you've got plenty of room to build more parking spots now.
How large is the grocery store you're proposing, and therefore what kind of potential vendor are you thinking of?
This one's 27,000 feet.
It's small.
Right. And so it's not a 60,000 footer. It's more of, as Aaron alluded to, it's a specialty restaurant.
I see. And what type of retail are you thinking of trying to bring in?
We're trying to get unique retailers. You might have 3 or 4 outlets, not a national chain that has 100. So we're trying to find interesting opportunities. We visited this more as, it's more eclectic, like a 4th Street, not at all like Bay Street. Yes?
It's interesting that you raised 4th Street as an inspiration. There does seem to be a lot of thinking now about what is it that makes a neighborhood truly convivial? What makes it slow down? What makes people want to congregate for something other than commercial reasons? I like the general direction of what you're taking insofar as it goes very local and avoid chains altogether. And insofar as it creates spaces that people simply want to be in, not necessarily to do commerce. They will end up, like, as far as I know, 4th Street generally does pretty well.
They do.
Especially that first block. What is it that makes that work?
I think it's the ambiance. People feel comfortable there. So it's comfortable strolling, it's the
Trees.
landscaping, it's the trees. It's a comfortable place to get out of their apartments and to walk and to see their neighbors. And I think that's what makes it work.
One of the disincentives of sitting over in the marketplace is it's windy as can be and cold. Is there anything that can be done architecturally or with?
Well, we're looking at a couple of things. On the eastern side of the marketplace, we're pretty much protected from the wind coming off the bay. Where the wind is the most difficult is when it comes and hits the office tower and it comes down in that alleyway is between the pool hall and such. And so we're studying some methods to put over the top of that, maybe 20, 25 feet high. You can describe it would be a bit of a screen to buffet the wind but still feel open. So you can come out there, because our idea ultimately is to put some restaurants and retail in that alley so you can spill out and you can actually enjoy it. But you're right now it's a wind tunnel and it's not pleasant.
Yeah, I'd like to maybe think a couple things in the design level as far as, like, we talked a lot about stores and stuff, but like in terms of like the open spaces of how people would mitigate from one end of the retail area and cross the street and come back is really nice. I do agree how it would slow people down. I'm thinking of terms of the artistic attributes that you'll be placing on these structures. Would it be possible to think of something that would maintain a real play on Emeryville history back early? We have a shell mound that's on Bay Street that unfortunately doesn't really get as much collective view as one would want to think, because it feels like it's an afterthought. And the other thing too is that when the artwork is selected, Emeryville has a tendency to always be existential on almost everything, which is fine. Modernism is, what it is. But it'd be nice to be creative and work with. I think make it strong to have Emeryville artists only, and make it so we have a lot of design people here in this little town, and to make it so it is something changeable, something that it just doesn't stay up forever and ever.
One of the things that and it's not part of this phase, but there is an alley right now where Exploratorium has those bird lifters that come up through the narrow alley. We're exploring the possibility of having artists change out maybe every couple of months, paint both of those walls, can do murals and that sort of stuff, and local artists do it. And so we have it changing. We're talking about other art programs within the food hall. We definitely want this to be a local, community-driven place, and that's what, to your comment, what makes it work, is that the community feels invested.
Right. 4th Street, you don't feel invested. 4th Street, it's nice and it's cute and all the trees are there, but you're always separated from the retail. You always feel like, well, you walk into the store and there's $500 pair of leather shoes and all this stuff, and it just completely untouchable, for most people.
So are you aware of the Emeryville Celebration of the Arts, the
organization that's now 27 years old and has an annual show with a call to artists, and you know about that.
Yeah, and we've helped contribute to that event in the last couple of years since we
Great.
purchased the property.
Great.
Yeah, I have two questions. One of them is, who would we speak to make suggestions as to, since we live so close to the marketplace, the kinds of food stores? Is it you, or is there some?
It's our team. So
Pardon?
It's our team. So
So-
it's myself, it's Tim, it's,
Do you have a phone number that you could, or card? That-
oh, can I give you my email address?
Do you have takeout?
Yeah, well, yes, give it to me in a minute. The other thing is, I just would like to put my vote in again with the gentleman up in front. The reason why United Artists was so wonderful was because those of us that don't want to drive, and you keep saying you don't want people to drive, you want them, I could walk, even in the early evening, and not be afraid to go to the movie alone, and I could walk back. And that was a real blessing. That's one of the things that sold me on coming here to Emeryville and living where I do. So I would like to implore you to look for other theater venues, other theaters who would consider coming, because we have more apartment. You probably have seen the big apartment building going up right across from, diagonally across. More people could go to the theater. It doesn't seem to be a losing proposition. And I thought the theater was lovely. They went big screen, they had popcorn, AMC has popcorn. So it's not.
We've been talking to other theaters and we can continue to talk to other theaters.
Now, would you give me your email address?
MARK at CCRP.
Wait a minute, it takes me a while. MARK,
CCRP LLC.com.
oh, wait a minute, CCRP, what's the rest? LLC.com. Okay, thank you.
Schematics I've seen when you proposed the new signage and in these drawings, I noticed some changes to the tower and the existing building.
Can we go to that slide?
Is that something that is just to make the slides look
No,
pretty, or are you
that's-
guys hoping, because I saw in the public market actually have roll-up doors?
Yeah, what we're looking to do, that's different, it's not part of this,
Right.
this project, but a separate project is that as you enter the food hall right now, on the left side, you've got these solid doors, they're like garage doors, but they don't open. And so you don't have any activity spilling out on the sidewalk. So what we want to do is turn those into garage doors so they can open up, there can be seating out there, you can pass back and forth, and it activates the sidewalk. So it makes it interesting and people want to.
And I saw the tower, you had like a still I-beam on the
So
first
on the
story.
tower, right now, the way that's designed, it really serves for service and office-oriented uses. We want this to be more of a retail feel, so we're gonna take off the GFRC that's at the lower 20 feet and expose the steel beams and put in new storefronts there. And right now, the ceiling heights are about 9 feet. There's really about 20 feet of clear space underneath that, so we can create much better retail space.
Help that building look a little better, I think they have more appeal as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's part of it.
That might be stage 4, we have to kind of, it all takes money, we have to, yes.
Can I just say, I mean, we all have concerns and everything, but I mean, since I really appreciate that you guys have taken on the public market property and what you're trying to accomplish and the kind of, it's disruptive, it's change and all of that stuff, but I think the quality of the things you're aspiring to are wonderful for us. I know that those of us who, just live in a walking circumference and, deal with it daily. So I just, we all have comments, I think, but I think I have to say I really appreciate
Well, thank you.
the quality that you're aspiring.
I mean, our team are all urbanists. We've been involved in trying to do urban retail for over 20 years, way before it was popular, and because we appreciated the urbanness rather than the suburban sprawl. So we really take pride in trying to make a place that we would all want to spend time in. So.
I live at the terraces, which is that kind of is our view at the building. And one thing I think a lot of us would be objecting is the view of looking at more cars, because one of the things that City Hall was trying to sell to us is like that open space of the parking garage. We don't want to have that, and therefore they were going to build condominiums or businesses or things like that. And now I'm looking, the surface of the building you're proposing, instead of the parking would be on the ground level, now it's on the top level. And what would be the problem for you to go underground and have the parking spaces underground and create a lush park on top?
For the grocery store, you're saying?
Oh, I don't know what I'm so sorry, I was late, so I didn't get this, so I'm just looking at this right now.
So you live in the terraces. This is, it's not quite as tall as the terraces, it's 5 stories tall. So yes, you'd see some of it. We've looked at a series of screening methods. The back facade, you would not see cars. You would see obliquely some cars on top. We've looked at some other kind of screening methods, but I don't think they'd be that visible.
Well, one of
The problem with
the
underground,
pit
though,
bottom.
is that you've got soil conditions here that are very toxic soils. This used to be a painting plant, an asphalt plant, and there's also the water table from the bay.
Right.
So you really can't go down more than one level.
How about PV as a screen?
Yeah, we have genuinely been studying PV. That office building casts a long shadow, and so we've definitely studied it, and it is frustrating. And you know your mornings are foggy, and so your afternoons are sunny, and it's really a tough situation. But your point's well taken, and we are looking at that.
Really appreciate if we can implement more greenery in there rather than me looking at more asphalts and cars.
We've looked at some vegetation as well, as going up the sides of the garage and to provide greenery.
Just block it.
I came in late also, so you may have covered this, but you've been in business many years, you said.
Yes.
Do you have projects that we could see how they have come out?
We've done a lot of work in San Francisco.
I'm sorry? In San Francisco.
Yeah, I could probably, you know what, that's a good idea. Tim suggested you go to our website, and then you can see the projects we've done. And that's, it's www.ccrpllc.com.
CCRV.
You'll be able to see all the projects there. PLLC.com.
I remember that character, Howard Gordon, in Copperhead. He would probably want to blow up the public market building. And I don't think we should do anything like that. Is there any way to enhance that? It's really a nightmare piece of architecture.
You're talking about the office building?
I'm talking about, the public market, the tall thing.
You don't mean the,
I'm talking about what's on top
I
of the public
I
market.
think everyone on our team agrees with you. The problem is that it's extremely expensive to do so. When we bought the property, part of what we're buying is the income property. And to tear that down and build it again, there no sense. Well, the type, talking about just lopping off the top?
Yeah,
We're-
the
we're-
betterment.
Yeah, we're looking at that. We are looking at various ways to deal with that, and that's phase 3. The first phase is where we're updating the food hall and some of the base of the office tower, then the project we're talking here, and then we'll look at how we can address the office tower.
Will the grocery store be net new grocery shopping for Emeryville, or is there a potential?
It'll be net new.
Net new.
Net new.
what is that?
It means it's not a
What is
relocation
that?
from one place to another. It would be
Right,
an
in other words,
entrance.
Trader Joe's is not moving.
No, Trader Joe's.
So, am I to get this right, that you're only offering 4 retail and 2 markets, or is that 6 retail and 2 markets for this
No, there's,
Can we go back to?
Southern California,
Okay, let's go to the
yeah, you have things that you have on the merchandise types.
Oh, I did? Yeah.
Oh, there. Yeah, so as you can see, F&B is food and beverage, and the R is the restaurant. So there's
Retail.
yeah. So there's the restaurant here, and at either end, you know, probably another restaurant there. We have a few restaurants here. And again, the sizes are small. The restaurant spaces are 3,500 feet. 1,500 feet, the retail's 1,500 feet, so they're small spaces, they're not big.
So when you're all done with the square footage costs and stuff, that it's gonna be something affordable to a local
Yeah.
business?
Yeah, for instance, the rents here will be half of what they are, say, at 4th Street.
Good. Okay, good, yeah, it needs to stay that way too. So we, you know, everyone reads the rates.
I think Amtrak is in the way.
Would you mind going back to the overall plan?
Yeah.
Where is it?
I'm serious.
I think, first off, I mean, I think the potential to have a vital kind of collective space in between seems good. And I'm glad to hear that you're planning to work on the existing office space fronting that space, because it takes both sides of the street
Exactly.
in order to make it strong. I would, the wind is a really big issue, a really big issue. And, you know, like this space is very uncomfortable for much of the year. And I'd be very concerned that you're not going to have any place where you could sit there comfortably, because I think this wing is not enough to really start to create a pocket. So I have, and the other space across the street, which is facing west, and I don't know, you know, I assume you're going to do wind studies with the tower and all that, but I'm wondering whether that drive between the grocery store and the building actually needs to be there, and whether it's possible not to have that drive, because then you really could create a real strong block to that, and then that whole space.
You're saying the car traffic.
This,
Close off,
yeah, right.
close off.
Because if you were able to block the wind here, then you would have potentially a fantastic space in terms of usability. Because right now, like you know, they have the music performances in the park, and it's so cold and windy, you hardly want to be there.
Yeah.
So to have one space that was actually wind protected would make a big difference, I think, in your.
Yeah. Well, it's not the trees are going to save the day, but the more we get into it with the arborist team, evergreen trees, not deciduous trees, are really meaningful here, and they are the best mitigator of kind of urban wind. And so they are not going to keep the wind from blowing at the office tower and down on the sidewalk, but they will mitigate in a large way. You raised this point. We envision this plaza as drivable some of the time, but a plaza, you know, it can be a plaza for farmers markets or art festivals. Or,
We have bollards that we would place in there to prevent car traffic.
So building on that, it would be flush, so it's not that you're stepping down onto asphalt and back up, it would be this great pavement all the way.
And what's driving it to even be a road? Why can't it be closed off? What's driving, other than emergency access, which I could see, why would it have to be used any other time?
Right now, part of it is access to the parking, because otherwise,
To the garage.
to the garage, to this garage here, so otherwise you'd have to circle around and come back.
Those are kind of.
But either way, you have to come in, make a left, and make a right, and then make a right again, so either way, you're making a loop around into it. So I think what you're losing in terms of pedestrian, which you're saying you want to create by making that open, because if you're using it as a parking access, it's open all the time, and you're closing on special occasions. Or what you're saying is that it's gonna be closed all the time and open only on occasion. But if you're saying it's parking access, then it's open all the time.
Well, we're studying both options. We're really thinking of this to be closed on the weekends, so we can have events that people want to come and gather. And we're still studying the access. What's the right, because this is a really tight site in terms of, you have Shellmon, you have to deal with the traffic, the truck loading, and the cars, and we're trying to study to make sure it all works. And it's, but your point's okay.
On food and beverage, are there going to be, or do we have any assurances that there's not going to be McDonald's and Taco Bell?
Yes.
We don't want those because, again, that's not what we're trying to create here. We're trying to create a unique space that you can't, you can go to a lot of different malls and you could be just dropped there and you wouldn't know what city you're in.
Correct.
It could be any city. We want to create a place so it feels like you're in Emeryville, it's unique purveyors. And we're talking to a number of food purveyors. We've got a great food culture here in Emeryville, Berkeley, and Oakland. And we're talking to some folks that have restaurants about doing good quality restaurants to do small, approachable, either it's in food hall, so it might be a 500-foot food stall, or they might do a 1,500-foot cafe. And that's what we're going for, not the mass market.
I know you have obligatory parking for the office tower now. And also, is the parking garage you're going to build
Yes.
going to be able to be sufficient for all of the existing
Yes.
requirements that you have?
Yes, it'll handle the existing requirements as well as what we're proposing.
Okay. And the grocery store has its own parking, basically?
Yes.
Okay. And then the other phase next to this hotel here, this is, I guess, your phase 3.
Right.
Right now, that
Yeah.
remains surface parking
Right.
the way that it is?
Right.
Okay. Are you ultimately planning on doing something with?
Yes,
overpass?
ultimately what we're planning is, you know, on that site, would ultimately be a further phase would be another probably 14,000 feet of retail on the street, so we have two-sided retail and probably multifamily above.
Hi.
One other quality of life question for those of us. This side of the building is, you know, another one of those walking in kind of things. Because there are no eyes on it, it's very much black back alley. And I know that a lot of these things with loading and, you know, garbage and all that stuff. But I'm wondering if there's a way, and maybe it's just around the public market door, of opening up and getting more
Well,
eyes.
we've thought
in
about
there.
that, and what, in our design of the food hall, which is right here, is to have provisions that when it's determined what happens with these blocks,
I know that
we can then
that's-
open that up, and then we could have a secondary exit to the food hall. Maybe there's some cafes that spill out, because it's kind of a cool space, but we've got to wait until we see what happens on the other side and try to
Before you
coordinate
make
that
any of
together.
this.
But we have made provisions in the way we're laying out the food hall, so we can do that.
Because I'm even thinking, you know, even the gym, you know, presents its back to that edge.
Right.
And so it's
Right.
always seemed to me that it'd be nice to sort of, but I know, but I don't blame you for turning your back on it right now. There's-
What is your proposed time frame for
The
this?
proposed timeframe is that we're hoping to get approvals from the city this spring. And then, if that happens, we would commence the road realignment this summer. And that work would take about 3 to 4 months to do the road realignment, and then we would build the retail and parking structure.
And how long do you think that will be
And that takes 10 months, 12 months, 10 to 12 months.
To do all that?
The road will take 3 to 4, and then the retail garage would be 10 to 12 months.
Okay.
And how about the grocery, when are you going to start the grocery?
That would be the same time frame as either the same time as the parking structure in the retail or shortly thereafter.
Could you show two things on the map at the top, the TMG property that's being built now and where Christie Park is on that?
Yeah, where is it?
Christie Park's right here today, and then the building under construction is right here.
Okay.
At one time in the towers, there was a moderately small grocery store, a green grocery store.
There was.
Yes.
Well,
And then they just put up some sheetrock and they were gone. Whatever happened to that
Well,
space?
part of the problem, I don't know what happened to that space, but it's also a matter of scale, because Andronico's had a market here as well. And the problem is, it just didn't have enough, it wasn't large enough, couldn't do enough volume to make it profitable. And there weren't as many residents then either.
I came in a little late, and you may have answered this already, but what kind of improvements are you going to be doing to public transit?
Well, we're gonna be building 2 new bus shelters. We're gonna be we'll take it to bike lanes.
Yeah, I mean, there's an improvement to the bike lanes. There's the bus shelters and making accommodations for Emeryville Round and AC Transit, and encouraging them to come here regularly and frequently.
And bike lockers, so there'll be places where you can sort of bike valets and park your bikes safe and secure. There'll be bike repair.
We have car share provisions, and like preferred parking for carpoolers.
Are you looking at bike lockers?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So we've actually designated a spot within the parking structure for them.
Yeah, there's 2 areas on the ground floor, just off of the lobby of the parking garage, that would be basically meant for bicycles to be left up.
And we've also, going down Shell Mountain, we have designated striped green bike lanes, so they're very visible, slowing the traffic down so bikes can feel very comfortable riding and
So
riding through there.
are you coordinating the bike lanes with AC Transit? Because I know that that's often a really point of conflict.
Right, yes, we are.
Can you give maybe some examples of the types of grocers that might be interested in a grocery store? Because is that small?
There are a number of specialty grocers that they're not, you know, the large volume chains, national chains, but they cater to fresh, affordable, and they'll have produce, meats, cheese, breads.
Organic and locally grown, right?
What's that?
Like fresh and easy.
No, it's bigger, it's bigger. Fresh and easy is like 14,000 feet. So this
How about Whole
would be,
Foods?
that's a possibility.
What,
Molly Stones is another possibility. That's another possibility.
which one?
Those are all possibilities. Any other questions? Well, I thank you all for coming, and I look forward to continuing to work with you as we develop the project. Thank you very much.